right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Clouds clear. The timing on those clouds departure and when even warmer weather returns to the bi-state area.
Is St. Louis breaking records when it comes to water main breaks tonight? Our Verify team pours through the deluge of data. Plus, Congresswoman Cori Bush's personal security under new scrutiny tonight.
I have not used any federal tax dollars for personal security services.
Now the Department of Justice is involved.
More on those stories in a moment. We start with a developing story we have been following all night out of Baldwin, where 2 people were found dead inside a home. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. The discovery was made today on Sunny Slope Drive. That's in a subdivision in the area of Clayton Road and Kerrs Mill. 5 on Your Side's Annie Krall joins us there live with new information from police on what led them to that home. Annie.
Well, Mike, it was a concerned mailman who asked police to go and do a welfare check on the home just behind me because he said their mailbox was very full. Tonight, investigators are still trying to figure out what happened to the 2 people they found inside the home. In fact, Baldwin police came to this house on Sunny Slope Drive just around 3 this afternoon. Given the conditions of those 2 bodies found inside the home, the cause of death was not immediately known. Investigators are still waiting for more information from the autopsy results. The victims' identities have also not been released. Police say that as of now there is no threat to the community, but understand any concerns people may still have.
My only reaction was, well, we got 2 dead bodies in a home in the city of Baldwin. It's probably going to draw some attention. So that was it, and I was just waiting to figure out what we had from the guys who were on the scene, and left it at that.
Now, we have been out here in this quiet neighborhood pretty much all night, and many neighbors have not popped out yet. As of now, we will get you new details online at KSDK.com, as well as on our 5 on Your Side app. Reporting live in Baldwin, Annie Krall, 5 on Your Side.
But it seems a little odd to me that they're going after it now.
Tonight, growing reaction over a federal probe into Congresswoman Cori Bush's spending. The U.S. Department of Justice confirming it is investigating whether the lawmaker misused campaign funds on her personal security detail. Tonight, the Congresswoman is denying any wrongdoing, calling the allegations baseless. 5 on Your Side's Brent Solomon has a closer look at the federal probe and new reaction from legal experts. Brent?
Well, Mike, the announcement of that federal probe coming just days after Cori Bush kicked off her re-election campaign. It's no secret the Congresswoman's husband is part of her paid security. At issue here is the question of whether that's considered personal use of campaign funds.
The Department of Justice is reviewing my campaign spending on security services. We are fully cooperating with this investigation.
When donors give to a campaign, that money has specific uses. Monday, the Justice Department issued a subpoena to investigate how Representative Cori Bush is using her donations.
This investigation is coming from the Department of Justice, the White House, not the House of Representatives. They already looked into this and said they didn't find anything wrong.
SLU law professor Anders Walker questions the timing of the probe.
Well, why would the Biden administration want to get Cori Bush investigated? Could be something she said they don't like.
Back in October, the Congresswoman posted this tweet referencing the Israel-Hamas war as, quote, ethnic cleansing. The U.S. must stop funding these atrocities against Palestinians, she said. Bush says she's been the subject of right-wing attacks. Since late 2019, she spent more than $750,000 on private security, both on Capitol Hill and here at home in St. Louis.
I retained my husband as part of my security team to provide security services because he has had extensive experience in this area and is able to provide the necessary services at or below fair market rate.
Now, when he began working for her, they weren't married. This is sort of a Kevin Costner movie. They fell in love. Technically, if he's on her staff, she maybe should have said, okay, honey, I love you, but you're fired. If her husband was genuinely doing security, I don't think they're going to find anything. If he was on the beach sipping a pina colada, sure, maybe that's some type of fraud.
Back in October, the Office of Congressional Ethics determined Bush hasn't done anything wrong. Still, the Federal Election Commission and the House Committee on Ethics are conducting investigations of their own. And within just the last hour, we got this statement from Bush's political opponent, Wesley Bell. He says, quote, "A DOJ investigation into the potential misuse of public funds is a serious matter. As prosecutor, I understand that Representative Bush is entitled to due process. It is my hope that Representative Bush will cooperate fully with the investigation and be transparent with the public in responding to the legitimate concerns they are likely to have," end quote. Bell says he got into the race because he feels people in the 1st District deserve a rep they can trust and who will show up and get results for them. Kelly.
All right, thank you, Brent. Former President Trump is going to stay on Illinois' primary ballot this after a unanimous vote by the State Board of Elections. The 8 members say they don't have authority to take him off. There was a motion to remove Trump, claiming he's ineligible due to his role during the January 6 Capitol riots. Supporters of the move can object to the board's decision by filing a lawsuit within 5 days. Illinois' primary election is March 19th. The deadline to register to vote in that election in person is February 20th, and for online registration, it's March 3rd.
It looks like we're rounding out the month with a winter warm-up. After a cool breeze today, it's 50s and 60s for the rest of the week.
Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell's here with the Weather First forecast. 60s.
Yeah, we're not getting there tomorrow, but we should get to 50 tomorrow. A lot of that depends on the cloud cover and how it scoots out. The timing on that will happen during the morning hours tomorrow from west to east. And heading into tomorrow afternoon, most of us should be mainly sunny, but like we saw yesterday, east of St. Louis, it takes just a little bit longer to get those clouds out of here, and it also means you don't get quite as warm. Boy, what a pretty scene tonight. The good news is the base of those clouds a lot higher than what we were seeing last week when we hit the low clouds and fog. There's still low clouds, but not as miserably low as they were last week. New low temperature for the day, we've dropped to 39 this hour in St. Louis. That picture doesn't show the clouds quite as well as this one does. See all that yellow there around the Great Lakes, right into eastern Missouri, all of Illinois? That's your low cloud cover. Back to the west, there's some little magenta or purple in there. That's where you have some high clouds that are filtering in. We should see the low clouds scoot out overnight from the west to east, starting overnight. But in St. Louis, we're likely to wake up to a gray sky tomorrow morning, sun by the afternoon hours, and then it will be warmer Thursday into Saturday. We'll see in a few minutes. We'll talk more about the weekend rain chances.
Looking forward to that, Scott. Tonight, St. Louis police are investigating after the bodies of 2 men were found inside a parked car in downtown St. Louis. They were found last night on Lucas Avenue. Right now, police are investigating the deaths as a drug overdose. Advocates with Prevent Ed work to prevent and reduce harms associated with substance use. The group says there is a stigma that needs to be fixed.
Stigmatizing people who use drugs is definitely not going to help the problem. When people feel stigmatized, it makes them less likely to talk about their experiences and less likely to reach out for help. So by reducing stigma, changing the language that we use, and also just viewing substance use disorder as a brain disease, that's something that can be incredibly helpful.
Missouri's 911 Good Samaritan laws offer protection from prosecution if someone calls for help in a medical emergency. Prevent Ed also offers free Narcan at their locations in St. Louis, St. Clair, Washington, and Union.
A manager at Popeyes in St. Charles has been cited after police say she repeatedly hit a customer on the head. This happened Sunday at the restaurant on Regency Parkway. According to police, the argument started when the customer asked for a refund for her large order after waiting 30 minutes. Investigators say surveillance video shows the manager came around the counter, grabbed the customer by the hair, and hit her several times. The customer went to the hospital to get checked out. Police gave the manager a summons.
The end of January brought 60 water main breaks in a single week in the city of St. Louis. Water experts say that's a common occurrence in the coldest months of the year. But last year, during some of the warmest months, water main breaks plagued the city. The city claims it's a result of aging pipes, almost 1,200 miles of iron or cast iron mains. Tonight, the Verify team's Ann Allred is crunching the data to see if 2023 really was one of the worst for ruptured water mains.
From a washed out Highway 40 to road closed signs on less traveled side streets, rushing water and cracked pavement felt like a constant last summer. But has the city of St. Louis seen more water breaks in 2023 than ever before? Let's verify. Our sources, Nick Dunn, spokesperson for the City of St. Louis Mayor's Office, Kurt Scooby, Director of Public Utilities for the city, and Metro Water Infrastructure Partnership. In 2023, the city had 359 water main breaks. The Verify team compared that number to the 18 previous years and found that 11 times the annual number of water main breaks was higher than it was in 2023. And from 2012 to 2018, the city had 7 solid years of main breaks, topping out in the 400 or 500 range per year.
About 2019, it dropped down to maybe in the 300s. We've had kind of mild winters since then. We've had cold snaps, but overall they're relatively mild.
The Director of Public Utilities says cold weather and water main breaks go hand in hand. But can they be prevented somehow? Scooby says not really. Breaks are random and unpredictable because most of the infrastructure is buried and out of sight. We can verify no, there have not been more water main breaks in the city of St. Louis during 2023 than in years past. Water main breaks were also in the spotlight last summer as a water rate hike was being debated. City government approved that rate hike in stages. The second increase, averaging $5 a month, went into effect in January. I'm Ann Allred, 5 on your side.
There is something that you want us to verify. Email Ann at verify@ksdk.com.
Tonight, we learned former U.S. Senator and Missouri First Lady Jean Carnahan has died. She became the first woman to represent Missouri in the U.S. Senate in 2001. She was appointed by then acting Governor Roger Wilson to replace her late husband, Governor Mel Carnahan. He won the seat in November 2000, 3 weeks after dying in a plane crash with their son Roger. She served in the Senate until 2002. Her family says she died peacefully tonight after a brief illness. Jean Carnahan was 90 years old. Former Missouri Senator Claire McCaskill shared her condolences on X today. She said, "Today, a wonderful woman passed away. Senator Jean Carnahan, who survived tragedy with grit and grace, a woman who served others both in and out of the public eye." And Missouri Governor Mike Parson posted, "A former U.S. Senator and Missouri First Lady Jean Carnahan will be remembered for her deep, abundant love for the people of this great state."
Food for thought.
There are so many ways these chemicals can get into our food.
Tonight, we reveal which foods have the highest level of plastic chemicals and how to avoid them. On thin ice, the daring rescue in St. Charles County, serving as an important reminder to everyone.
The ice on our ponds continues to thin and melt as we head toward the weekend. The warmth heading our way and when the rain may follow.
Well, it sounds gross and dangerous. Plastic chemicals lurking in the foods we eat. The reality is we've known about it for decades. Tonight, Consumer Reports reveals which foods with higher levels of these chemicals and how you can avoid them. Take a trip through the grocery store or stop at a fast food restaurant. From packaged produce to meat, canned foods to fast food, you name it, it probably contains some form of a chemical used to make plastic.
We tested a wide variety of packaged foods, 85 to be exact.
Lauren Friedman is a science journalist at Consumer Reports.
We were looking primarily for chemicals called phthalates, as well as bisphenols such as BPA, and we found them at levels that our scientists say are not okay.
Even at low levels, studies suggest these chemicals can contribute to an increased risk of diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and certain cancers. But eliminating these chemicals from our diet is hard, if not impossible.
The problem is it's not just about avoiding food that is wrapped in plastic. There are so many ways these chemicals can get into our food.
Take the conveyor belts and the food handling gloves used during food processing, even from contaminated water and soil. So what can you do to at least try and minimize the chemical exposure? First, try to avoid plastic food storage containers. If you do use them, don't microwave them.
Heat can increase chemical leaching into your food, so it's a good idea to avoid storing hot food in plastic containers.
Stay away from fast foods, which are found to have some of the highest levels of plasticizers, like phthalates, in CR's tests.
One reason fast foods may have such high levels is that they're often prepared by people wearing vinyl gloves, which are known to be extremely high in these chemicals.
Try to eat fresh, minimally processed foods like unpackaged fruits and vegetables, which have fewer opportunities to touch things with phthalates. Stick with wood, stainless steel, and silicone kitchen tools, and swap out plastic water bottles for bottles made out of glass or steel. Consumer Reports also recommends limiting high-fat foods in your diet, as some research has found they have higher levels of phthalates.
We now know when Chesterfield Mall will close for good. All tenants have been notified their leases will expire August 31st. That is according to our partners at the St. Louis Business Journal. The mall will be demolished as part of a $2 billion project to redevelop the site into a new downtown Chesterfield. There has been some pushback from some, including Dillard's, which operates out of the mall. Last year, the store's parent company got into a legal dispute with the city over whether the project will succeed. A lawsuit still pending.
Colleges are getting their financial aid data from students late this year. That's because the Department of Education recently revamped and updated FAFSA. While the updates freed up about $1.8 billion of financial aid, it delayed processing. Now the department says colleges shouldn't expect data until March, when students usually expect to hear how much aid that they will receive. Well, firefighters were battling ice this afternoon to save a dog trapped in an icy pond. This video comes in from the New Melle Fire Protection District. That's about 45 minutes away from St. Louis.
Well, that pup was really trying to get out of there, and the dog's owner says she knew she would also be trapped in the ice if she tried to rescue her pup, so she called 911. And this story does have a happy ending, but just a reminder, as these temps continue to rise, beware of melting and thin ice. Here's Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell again with our weather first forecast. And
we don't have to worry about ice the next few days.
No,
isn't that nice? Yeah.
Feel kind of spring-like.
But I will say this, our first responders, they get on those ice suits and they go in there and they train all year. You know, in the winter, they'll be training when they don't need to do that, so that when they have to run out there, they're ready to go.
Kudos to them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, want to start you off with a pretty picture. No, it's not in your backyard. It's not in Paul's backyard that this beautiful hibiscus is blooming. That's a tropical plant, right? But it's overwintering, and it popped out last week with this lovely bloom. And since it was another cloudy day, we just needed something bright to see. Thanks, Paul. We need something bright every day. Tomorrow, the sun will help us out, but the low clouds, they're still hanging tough here across the St. Louis area, all of eastern Missouri into Illinois, into the Ohio River. There were a couple of sprinkles earlier today, especially east and northeast of St. Louis. A few high clouds will drift in as we go into tomorrow, but here's our future cast, and it basically is taking this deck of clouds off to the east of St. Louis during the morning hours tomorrow. So similar to what we saw yesterday, just not as foggy as we head out the door early in the morning. Our temperatures climbing back to around 50. It should be a bright afternoon, should be a gorgeous sunset in St. Louis. It'll stay dry tomorrow evening and will drop back through the 40s and into the 30s during the evening hours. Heading towards the weekend, there is a storm system we'll have to deal with. It'll be coming out of the plains, and it looks like still that it's going to be sliding down to our south and kind of scooting by to our south. So west of St. Louis and then south of St. Louis as we go from Saturday into Sunday is where we think the better chances of rain will be. Will there be rain in St. Louis? It's certainly possible this whole area of rain could be shifted back into the metro St. Louis area. That's, definite possibility. Still early, but it does look like any rainfall we see in St. Louis would be light, with heavier amounts more likely farther to the south. So just looking at the first weekend here in February, not a whole lot of sunshine. You'll probably get more of it Saturday than Sunday, but look at your temperatures. February, 62 on Saturday, 56 for the high on Sunday. Here's your next 10 days. Every single one of these temperatures is well above average for this time of year. Daytime highs, nighttime lows, way high, unusually so for this time of year. Tomorrow, decreasing clouds on Thursday. We're reversing it. Clouds on the increase, should be in the lower 60s on Thursday. And then as we head into the weekend, that chance for some rain. We go into next week, temperatures still in the 40s and 50s. And we'll leave you with this last thought. All that rain we had last week, well, the river levels have come up. And nowhere near flooding. We don't have to worry about that. But it's 11.8 feet in St. Louis right now. And that's the highest river level we've had since last May.
Yeah.
It's been that low. So this is good for navigation, too.
Yeah, they need it.
All right, Scott, thanks. We've got Frank Cusimano next with sports.
Mike, we have the Billikens, the Blues, and Illinois, and a story about fathers coaching their daughters, but not their own daughters. I will explain next.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers, driving your way since 1942.
This is why you don't bet. The Blues had a 5-game win streak, and we actually have been mentioning the word playoffs lately. And Columbus, well, they came to St. Louis with the fewest wins in the Eastern Conference. Go to the Alton Bell, bet the Blues, and get paid in the Escalade, right? No! The All-Star break starts tomorrow, and I would think a guy like Tyler Tucker of the Blues will have more fun sipping pina coladas in Mexico than trying to deal with Matthew Oliver. That got ugly. You know Columbus hasn't recorded a shutout all year. They did tonight. Elvis Merlikin stones Jake Neighbors in the third. And on the other end, Johnny Gaudreau, Zach Werenski, and Dmitry Vokranov beats Jordan Binnington. Blue Jackets win it 1-0. Been a great January, though.
Tonight wasn't our best, but we played a lot of good hockey, so you don't want to say throw away that game because all these points matter and they're big games, but at the same time we played a lot of good hockey, so enjoy the break and regroup.
There really is no way to sugarcoat the SLU basketball situation, and if I could, I would. Last in the conference, last in defense, and now losers of 5 in a row and 8 out of their last 9. Let's go to Loyola. I thought for a moment in the first half we had a prayer because Sincere Parker was wheeling and dealing. And then watch him with a contested fadeaway. He had 14 points tonight. But SLU faded once again in the second half. Tom Welch with the bucket and one right there. And later, the Ramblers got running. Jalen Quinn gave him 2 on the foul. SLU drops to 1-7 in the conference final, 77-62. Brad Underwood and the Fighting Illini have a chance for a special season at Ohio State tonight. They came out sharp. Amani Hansberry will slither in for the bucket and one. Illinois up 7 at the break. Prettiest pass of the night. Terrence Shannon Jr. to Ty Rogers, who will get the bucket and foul. Illinois was rolling. Shannon Jr. in rush hour traffic, he had 23. Illinois moves to 16-5 with an 87-75 win. First round of the Webster tourney, the host team facing John Burroughs, who's really good. The only team who could play with Incarnate Word. That's Monet Witherspoon with the steal and layup. JBS wins at 61-24. They are 16-1. Hey, I want you to listen to this interesting father-daughter connection. This is Dan Rolfes, who coaches undefeated Incarnate Word Academy. This is Incarnate sophomore sharpshooter guard Peyton Olafson, who's made 6 of her last 10 threes. That's her father, Jordan Olafson, who coaches undefeated Webster. And this is Rolfes' daughter, Kate, who's averaging 13 for Webster. So the coaches are coaching the other's daughter. And you know what? Nobody's lost a game.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny dynamic how it turned out, but I think us four having the relationship of father figures as our coaches or have been in our life, it has been nothing but prepare us for not only basketball on the court but for the rest of our lives. And I think it's a great dynamic. It's hard. Some days are harder than others, but I think it's preparing us for the long run and to be successful.
It will be a 3-point showdown, shoot-down in the NBA All-Star Game. How about this? New York Liberty guard Sabrina Ionis will take on Steph Curry February 17th in Indy. Now, she's unbelievable. She rang up a record 37 points in the WNBA three-point shootout last summer, and Steph has the previous record at 31. So this could really get interesting. He's the greatest shooter of all time, but this young lady can really stroke it.
I look forward to that.
Yep. No,
Thanks,
run
Frank.
for his money.
Yep.
Well, a former shoe warehouse turned tourist destination, and it's up for some national honors. How you can vote. The home of the 10-story slide and the world's largest jungle gym is up for a couple of USA Today's Reader's Choice Awards. Yep, the City Museum is nominated for the Best Children's Museum and the best immersive art experience in 2024. You can vote for the best children's museum until February 12th. Voting for the best immersive art experience won't end until February 19th. Readers can vote once per day, and you can find links to those polls on our website, KSDK.com.
And if you are hungry, a new burger chain is making its way to St. Louis County later this year. Smalls Sliders already has 8 locations in the works. According to our partners at the St. Louis Business Journal, the Louisiana-based company hopes to open as many as 25 stores in the region over the next 10 years. Smalls is known for their namesake cheeseburger sliders, waffle fries, and signature schmoss. That's hard to say. The company expects its first stores in Wentzville, Creve and Manchester.
And Scott has one
really
final
does.
check of the weather.
Yeah, hungry now, but ready to get on those, slides over at the slides.
While you're eating a slider.
Yeah, there you go. We love that over at the City Museum. All right, if you're going out tonight, clouds are stuck with us, and they're there tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow during the day, they'll be moving out.
And there you have it, 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Be sure to start your day with Today in St. Louis at 4 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.